We continue the story as Hizuru explained to Shinpei that she had encountered a shadow 14 years ago and it had killed her family. She couldn't share more details with him because if the shadows copied Shinpei, they would learn her secrets. Nezu added that once a shadow was killed, it couldn't copy the person anymore. He himself had this immunity, meaning shadows could never copy him again. Hizuru told Shinpei she would help him, but was curious about his plan. Shinpei explained that they had a time limit of 54 hours. His first priority was to help Mio by taking out her shadow. Hizuru agreed, but pointed out their immediate problem was Shiori's family. She had seen Shiori's shadow at the festival, which meant Hizuru had failed to eliminate her. Hizuru wanted Shinpei to join her in confronting Shiori's family. Outside Kogmart, Hizuru transformed into Ryunosuke. Nezu clarified that Ryunosuke did not have Hizuru's memories. As Ryunosuke, he entered the house and immediately smashed Asako's head with a hammer. Tatsu attacked him, but Ryunosuke killed him too. He then foresaw his death, avoided Asako's attack, and killed her shadow. Shinpei wondered if Hizuru had a dual personality. Nezu explained that Ryunosuke was actually Hizuru's twin brother. Hizuru had found him dead 14 years ago, covered in bite marks that disguised the strangulation marks on his neck. Meanwhile, Hizuru, as Ryunosuke, attacked Shiori's shadow. Shiori was injured but managed to separate part of her shadow and escape to the third floor. Ryunosuke entered Shiori's room and texted Nezu that she had escaped through the window. Nezu then started shooting at Shiori with his nail gun. Shinpei charged at Shiori, bringing her to the ground. Nezu shot 3 nails into her shadow, immobilizing it. Shinpei demanded to know Shiori's goal. Shiori revealed that the end was coming that summer and she was gathering her family to leave. Finally, Ryunosuke smashed Shiori, killing her. Shinpei was making curry at home when Ushio suddenly appeared behind him. He was startled because she wasn't supposed to show up until the 24th at the festival. Ushio, confused by his surprise, explained that she knew some shadow-like monsters would appear at the festival and devour everyone. Once they were in his room, Shinpei pondered how Ushio, who should have been dead, managed to loop with him. He asked her where she came from, and Ushio explained that she had woken up on the beach and walked from there. Determined to stop the monsters, Ushio proposed they work together to prevent the disastrous events she foresaw at the festival. Shinpei agreed and wondered if Ushio could copy people like the other shadows, but she revealed she couldn't. Their conversation was interrupted when a shadow slipped into the house. Mio came into Shinpei's room, and Ushio quickly hid under a blanket. Mio, after taking the empty dishes, left the room but returned almost immediately. Shinpei realized this Mio was a shadow because she was wearing her school uniform, which the real Mio wouldn't be wearing at home. Shadow Mio lunged at Shinpei with a knife, but Ushio jumped out to protect him, taking the stab herself. Despite the injury, Ushio pushed Mio back. However, Mio entered her shadow and re-emerged, stabbing Ushio's shadow, which caused her significant damage. Realizing they couldn't win this fight, Shinpei made a bold move. He opened the curtains and challenged Shadow Mio. At that moment, Nezu, who was outside, shot Mio's head through the window, creating a distraction. Seizing the opportunity, Shinpei fell to his knees and stabbed Mio's shadow, immobilizing it. Just then, Ryunosuke, who was actually Hizuru's twin brother, entered Shinpei's room. Seeing Ushio wounded, he prepared to smash her head, but Shinpei threw himself over Ushio, protecting her with his body. This unexpected act stopped Ryunosuke. Hizuru, realizing Ushio's voice was the same as the one from the message she received, decided to listen to Ushio instead of attacking. Hizuru played the message for Ushio. In it, Ushio's voice warned that the shadows would kill everyone at the festival and requested Hizuru's help. The message also said that Shinpei was the only one who could stop the shadows. Strangely, Ushio had no memory of recording this message, adding another layer of mystery to their dire situation. With the immediate threat neutralized, Shinpei, Ushio, and Hizuru regrouped to discuss their next steps. Ushio's unexpected appearance and her knowledge of the Shadow's plans added urgency to their mission. They had to prevent the disaster at the festival and uncover more about the Shadow's intentions and abilities. Nezu, having saved Shinpei and Ushio, joined their discussion. They realized that time was of the essence. The festival was fast approaching, and they needed a concrete plan to stop the Shadows from causing more harm. Together, they vowed to protect their loved ones and uncover the truth behind the Shadows, even as the mystery deepened. Ushio's courage, Shinpei's quick thinking, and Hizuru's willingness to trust her instincts, despite the risks, formed a strong foundation for their fight against the Shadows. They knew the road ahead would be fraught with danger, but they were determined to face it head-on, relying on each other's strengths and newfound bond. With their resolve strengthened, the trio set out to gather more information, prepare for the festival, and confront the Shadows. The clock was ticking, and the fate of their world hung in the balance, but together, they believed they could make a difference. Shinpei followed his usual routine on the 23rd and went to work at the restaurant. While there, he received Ushio's phone from Tetsu. Su arrived shortly after, and Shinpei, along with Ushio, explained everything to him. Shinpei then handed Ushio her phone, and she discovered a video dated the morning of the 20th, the day she died. In the video, Ushio called out to her shadow, and the two Ushios stood next to each other. Ushio explained that her shadow wasn't evil. Shadow Ushio remembered everything, including her powers, and offered to replay past events from her memory to show them what happened on the private beach on July 21st. Ushio asked Shadow Ushio to transform into her shell necklace, and she complied. While Mio and Akari were away, Shiori ended up in the water and started drowning, pulled down by Shadow Shiori. Ushio jumped in to save her and swam towards Shiori. Shadow Ushio transformed back into her Ushio form and slashed Shadow Shiori's arm. Despite this, Shadow Shiori's arm, surrounded by tiny yet powerful shadow arms, continued to hold Shiori. Ushio managed to pull Shadow Shiori out, but then Shadow Shiori started strangling her. Ushio instructed Shadow Ushio to continue saving Shiori. Moments later, Shadow Shiori caught up to Shadow Ushio, defeated her, erased Shiori, and then pretended to be unconscious for Mio and Su to save her. While being carried by Mio, Shadow Shiori grabbed Shinpei's arm, startling him because they shouldn't be able to interact with recordings. Shadow Shiori transformed into Hein, stating she had been looking for Shinpei for quite some time. Shadow Ushio realized this wasn't part of her memory and stopped the replay, returning them to the beach. Shinpei noticed he had a mark on his arm where Hein grabbed him, indicating the interaction was real. Shinpei decided to visit the old clinic, hoping to uncover more about the mysterious shadows. Su agreed to join him on this exploration. When they arrived at the clinic, Shinpei asked Ushio if she sensed any shadows nearby, but she shook her head, indicating none were present. The two entered the old clinic and began searching through the dusty abandoned rooms. As they explored, Su stumbled upon an old, peculiar wooden statue holding a fish in its left arm. Shinpei immediately recognized it as Haruko, a significant figure from their past. Intrigued, he called Ushio over to examine it more closely. Shinpei then noticed a small gap in the wall and asked Ushio to investigate it. Ushio squeezed through the gap and discovered a keyhole on the other side, suspecting it was a hidden door. She reported back, and after scanning the statue again, she used a string of her hair to copy what was inside the statue. To their surprise, it was a key. With the key in hand, Ushio unlocked the secret door, revealing a dark tunnel leading underground. However, she warned them that she sensed a shadow presence down there. Shinpei speculated that this tunnel hadn't been used by humans in decades and was likely a path for shadows. Determined to proceed, they ventured into the tunnel. As they moved deeper, Ushio's sense of the shadow grew stronger. They soon encountered a disturbing sight: a baby-like shadow missing the top half of its head. Shinpei prepared to use his nail gun to pin the shadow, but as he approached, the creature detected his presence and tried to escape. Shinpei missed with his first shot, but quickly composed himself, firing 3 more nails that immobilized the shadow. Su then grabbed the immobilized creature and tossed it to Ushio, who finished it off decisively. Su, curious about Ushio's abilities, asked if she could copy the nail gun. Shinpei explained that while Ushio could copy machines, the copies wouldn't work unless the original was destroyed. As they discussed this, they heard the sound of gunfire echoing through the tunnel. They followed the noise and emerged into a natural cave, where they were ambushed by multiple baby-like shadows. Panic set in as the shadows swarmed them, but Shinpei noticed that the shadows seemed to be specifically targeting Ushio. Su, thinking quickly, used a spray and a lighter to create a makeshift flamethrower, keeping the shadows at bay. Meanwhile, Hizuru, sensing something was amiss, decided to head into the city sewers. Nezu followed her, both aware that something urgent was happening. As they moved through the dark, damp sewers, Hizuru switched to Ryunosuke. Instantly more alert, he killed a lurking shadow and sensed they were getting closer to the shadow's nest. Meanwhile, Mio frantically tried calling Shinpei and Su, but neither answered. Suddenly, a shadowy Shiori called Mio, claiming Shinpei was there. Worried, Mio ran towards the voice and encountered Tetsu. They noticed an open manhole and decided to enter the sewers together. Back with Shinpei, he and the others managed to escape the pursuing shadows. Ushio, in pain, erased her arm to stop the hurting. Out of nowhere, Tokiko appeared with 2 large baby-like shadows. She warned them to turn slowly and not do anything strange, or Ushio would die. Ryunosuke and Nezu reached a dead end blocked by metal bars. Hearing something, they hid just as Tetsu and Mio approached. They saw Shiori behind the bars. Shiori flashed, making the bars disappear, allowing them to proceed. As Tokiko got closer, Shinpei shot at her shadow, but Tokiko just laughed. Ushio told Shinpei that Tokiko was not a shadow. Tokiko then left them to Haruko. Ryunosuke and Nezu pressed on and eventually reached a cave. Shiori reappeared and revealed she knew Ryunosuke's full name. Ryunosuke realized this was Hein, using Shiori's memories. A shadow parent then appeared, demanding to know where the body that stole Mother's right eye was. Nezu warned that they should run as they were the ones being hunted, and that this wasn't a human shadow. Shiori warned the shadow that Ryunosuke was shifted about 2 seconds ahead. The shadow shot at Ryunosuke, but Nezu jumped in, taking the bullet. The shadow continued firing, hitting Ryunosuke, who managed to escape but was also wounded. Shinpei and the others heard a rumble as they got closer. Tokiko explained that it was Haruko's stomach. Tokiko led them to a massive shadow that reached the ceiling. At its base was the mother of the shadows, Hein, who declared it was 9 o'clock and it's time to eat. Now, let me know your opinion about the story down in the comments. Thanks for watching and see you in the next story.